Hello everyone, Ibukun Williams here. Welcome back to my channel, and this is another fantastic episode. Actually, today I'm going to be talking to somebody special. I don't even know where to start, but this person that we're about to like engage is one of a kind, one of Nigeria's top rappers, one of Nigeria's top makeup artists, one of Nigeria's top entrepreneurs, top tech, in fact, top jack of all trades and master of all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the energy giver herself, the one who you sit with and you cannot have a dulling moment, the one who you sit with and you get deep with, the one who you sit with and you tend to think about your life and get like some form of epiphany about what you're supposed to be doing with yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's none other than the energy giver herself, Ouuu Eva Alordiah.
That was so sweet. That was so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not every time you get an actual friend that gives you accolades and flowers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you deserve every accolade, you know. You actually really deserve
I'm
everything.
smiling from ear to ear.
Okay, yeah. So, Eva, you know, I've been observing you for years, you know, and I've seen what you've been doing, you know, and I've seen your process, what you've gone through and everything you've been doing. So it's very fascinating, and I've always been meaning to have like a discussion with you, like a conversation where we can talk about some of these things, you know. I myself, I'm a creative. I'm sure you know me, like a photographer. I do a lot of random stuff. But yeah, but you like my senior, like my egbo.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Ibukun Williams.
I mean the great energy giver. So to start with, yeah, what would you say really like took you into this world of creativity?
How do I answer that? To be honest, I've always been a very creative person. I've been in the arts. I was fascinated by arts for the longest time in school. I was always in the show of schools, you know, like the Literary and Debating Society, the Creative Society, the Drama Society, the dance groups. I was a chorister in church. That's a church.
Yeah, you said
in church. In church. So for some reason or whatever reason, I always wanted to be on the stage, you know, and entertain or educate, because I was in debating society when I was young in school, and I was just on stage. But I think I remember very clearly when I was really very young, probably around 5 or something. You know, there's some memories that just stick in your head. We were over at a neighbor's house, or a family friend's house, and on their little black and white TV, or almost colored small TV, was Michael Jackson. And it was the first time I saw a performer with a mic, and it just drew me into the TV, you know, and I remember thinking, wow, I would like to be inside of that box. Like, I would like to be in there.
How old were you then?
Probably 5 or something.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Maybe younger. I don't really remember, but I do remember that I was a smallie. I was really tiny. Definitely before I was 6. Because I sort of remember a lot of things from after I was 6.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But that was the first time I saw Michael Jackson. And fortunately for me, they were actually playing a tape of different performances from different singers. So it was Michael Jackson and then somebody else. Yeah.
But it was Michael Jackson that drew you in,
yes,
basically.
It was Michael Jackson.
So would you say since that time you always knew what you wanted to do, or it's something that, you know, you developed over time? Why I'm asking this question is because me personally never really knew what I wanted to do. I wasn't really sure. I was just expressing myself. So would you say that since that moment you always knew that you were going to be some form of creative, or maybe a singer, a rapper, or whatever? At what point did you even realize that? I know I'm asking many questions at once, but at what point did you know that you were most likely going to be a rapper?
Rap came much, much later.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, okay. I had expressed myself in so many ways. I'm a very free spirit, and I trust my life. And I started writing when I was 4.
Wow, that's interesting.
My mom has this wonderful story of how I started teaching when I was 2. And she says, when I was 2 years old, I used to teach the neighbors' kids. Like, I'll go to school. They weren't going to school at the time, according to my mother.
So what you would learn in school
and come teach
back
them what
you learned
and according to my mom, if they missed it, I'll cane them. And I was 2 years old. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, that story is so dear to my heart.
I think teaching, when you have that energy of teaching at a very young age, I think it's already like almost like you want to give something. What do you think was inspiration behind you teaching? I know you may not remember, but is it that you just wanted to impact them, I guess, or what was it?
I think I took up teaching much later as a hobby career when I started teaching makeup. Much later, maybe when I was like 19 or something, 20. When I started teaching makeup, I took it as a hobby career. But throughout school, I was a smarty, like... I was a real big efiko.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Always getting first in class.
Oh, God. They did not like me. If my schoolmates are watching this, they did not like me. I mean, they loved me, but they did not like me.
Of course. I mean, I get it. Like, people tend to get, obviously, threatened by the person who tends to stand out.
I'm the sort of person, I was the sort of person in school who will gallivant the entire school. I will play, I will have fun. And then when it's time for exams, I'm in that. I'm in it. And I will understand everything. And I'll pass. Like, I would be so good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I did not necessarily enjoy school, but I enjoyed studying. I felt like I was being forced to study stuff, I enjoyed studying, and I knew, I was most times top of class. And even when I failed, I didn't fail too badly,
Okay. I feel that.
Yeah.
How do you define success?
I honestly have come to a place in my life where I believe that success is having a sense of your own freedom, or having a grasp on your own freedom. Nobody's holding your freedom, and you are free to choose, free to do, free to be, free to leave, free, and I believe that freedom is free. But then inside of this context of where we are in this world, you sort of have to buy freedom. You sort of have to buy your freedom by playing the game.
But
I think that the joy comes in when you decide consciously to play the game in your own way, and you're not playing the game. And I think that's one aspect of freedom that is so important. Like, first, you have to realize that you are in a game. If you did not know that before.
Yeah, I was about to actually, that was kind of like leading me to my next question,
Yeah.
Like, for a lot of people out there, they tend to get lost in what I would define as the matrix. And most creatives are people who basically kind of like step out of that box of the matrix, because creatives are thinkers generally. They're naturally people who want to express a thought or some idea that's coming to their mind. So for you now, how would you say you were able to maneuver all these things? Obviously, you said they didn't like you in school, because I feel like it was a creative.
I was a very likable person.
No, but obviously, like, being a creative, you always stand out, and I assume you stood out, right? And a lot of people may not necessarily understand you based off of that.
Yeah.
So how were you able to maneuver, having to handle people like, okay, for me, I'll give an example. For me, to a very large extent, what made me different was also something that also caused some form of resistance or some rift within myself, asking myself, am I actually normal? Or am I doing things the right way? Do I have a problem for thinking this way or asking these questions? Or, questioning these things. I've always questioned stuff. So I can see that energy in you as well. So, and I know that it's not really, it's not really easy. There are a lot of people out there who are also in that situation right now where they are questioning things, right? And they're wondering whether they're normal up there, like if everything is going on well. How are you able to maneuver having to, first of all, deal with your own self and then deal with people, misconstruing you in a sense?
I don't think I've ever cared too much about people as much as I care about myself and my people. My people meaning my family.
Okay.
And my mom and my dad are fantastic parents. When I started expressing myself and, showing off my creative energy in ways like maybe dyeing my hair, cutting my hair, writing a book, like I wrote my first book when I was 6 or 7 years old.
Wow. What was the name of that one?
I can't remember. I wrote it in my notebook in school.
Okay.
And I showed it to my dad, and my dad called me Wale Shoyinka.
Wow.
He was so proud of me. He took me to his office, to the printing press, and he was going to help me get published. And he was so sure about it,
Wow.
you know. And writing fiction as a young child evolved into, and I used to draw as well, that evolved into then writing rap at 13. And that evolved into me, you know, finding makeup as a young teenager. And so I played with makeup for a long time. Throughout secondary school until I was 16, I was a dancer, you know. So I was, in secondary school, I did not know that I was going to rap.
Right.
I was dancing. But when I found Eminem, I think I found Eminem when I just gotten into university or just before I left secondary school. I can't really remember, but I was about 13 or 14. And I remember very clearly just feeling like, I can do this. I want to rap, you know. And every time that I chose a path, my parents were watching, my family was watching. I never got a pushback. I never got a, why are you doing that? You know, I was even a model at some point. So I'm a very free creative spirit. And I allowed myself, and this is something I'm very proud of today, because when I look back retrospectively, I can see how everything connects to everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting down here.
Yeah.
I made this dress. I did my makeup myself.
Amazing.
I am my own skincare therapist.
I mean,
you know, and so I tied my head wrap myself. All of this is just me
I can relate.
in one go, you know? So I don't have to wait for anybody to come do my makeup before I get ready for TV. I know how to do my makeup.
Right.
I used to teach makeup. I used to do makeup, you know?
That's
so
amazing.
I've allowed myself to go into every space that creativity called me into. And now everything just blends together like a beautiful piece of jollof. That is just jolloffly me.
Yeah. Okay. So I can totally relate with that, you know, but there are people who, like, how do I put it now? Spent a lot of time people telling you, oh, Ibukun, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this and do this. I want to do this. I want to do this other thing. Like, you have to focus on something, you know, and there are times where I try to focus, but it's almost like when I'm trying to focus on a particular thing, the thing I left alone to focus on next, it starts to call me back and saying, why did you leave me alone? You know, that kind of thing. So, I mean, my first love was music. My sister had a piano teacher in the house, and then I was young. I just watched her with the piano teacher and I just fell in love. And that was the first thing. I started learning how to play the piano, learning how to sight read, treble clef, bass clef, lines, and all that stuff. So yeah, and then that evolved into playing instruments. I evolved into so many things. Whatever interest I had, I just jumped into it. But there was one challenge that I faced most of the time, which was like people asking me, which one do you want to do out of all these things? And I'm like, it sounded like a valid question for me, and I would think about it and I would try to focus on one thing, say, focus on music, for example, and playing with music. At some point, I used to play with Fruity Loops back in like secondary school days, and even virtual DJ and just mixing sound and all that kind of stuff. So people would ask, okay, what do you actually want to do? Focus on something, you know, and then I would try to focus. And after a while, some of those things that I left to focus on another thing start to call me back, you know. And just like you said, it's not until now that I'm able to see that everything is just connecting. Yeah. Like Steve Jobs would say that you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backward. Yeah. And that has been a very interesting struggle for me. Would you like to tell me what your struggle was like in this regard?
It's funny because for many years, I finally got to that struggle. For a long time, I did not feel like I was struggling. I just felt like I was happy and free.
Yeah.
There was no restriction
you know,
on what it was
until
that
people
I
were telling me that.
Yeah, there was no restriction at all. But then I began to have headaches and burnout and shame and sort of personal guilt from having unfinished books, unfinished albums or unfinished songs, and then unfinished classes and things like that. And, you know, as you begin to become an adult and you get into more phases of being an adult, you know, you're paying your rent, you're paying every bill, you're even now responsible for other people's bills. Somehow just you acquire responsibility as an adult, you know. And then you start getting really serious about your life. You know, you're not just thinking about yourself alone now. You're thinking about everything. And then you're thinking about the future. And so when I got to that point where I started thinking about a lot of things, it was more or less like, why am I doing this? And why am I doing that? And why am I, and when this is another conversation, we'll probably have it some other time or maybe today, but when I took a break from my music.
Yeah, I'm actually coming there. We're getting there. We're coming to that.
I took a break from my music, right? And I realized that I had such a weird relationship with my music career. And it was time for me to really figure out what money was without my music. More or less, how can I make money without necessarily depending on my music? Because I loved my music so much. And my music wasn't necessarily something that I would allow. Generally, nobody tells me.
Music. We love your music as well.
Thank you. Generally, nobody tells me what to do. Like, you don't come into my universe and tell me what to do. That is you assuming that I don't know. And that is you not minding your business.
And that's you projecting.
Yeah, especially unsolicited.
Which we'll still talk about.
So I'm a very wonderful listener to my intuition. And my intuition said to me that if I wanted to keep the love for my music, I had to separate the music from the money. And so I needed to go learn how to make money without using the music. Right? Because it felt like if I did not make music or if I wasn't on stage, I wouldn't feed, I wouldn't eat. And so it was important for me to understand money from a business point of view. And so I went away to go learn how to make money. And in trying to learn how to make money, I began to see how all the skills were coming together. And the way that I chose to learn how to make money was by teaching, which was, according to my mom, my first love. So I did go back to the very first thing. And this is something that I share with my students all the time because I encounter a lot of creatives who don't know what to focus on and don't know where to put their mind. To be honest, every single moment in time, this is how I understand it now. Every single time that we think about something, it materializes in the physical plane. It is active in the quantum field. And the only way for you to see it in your physical reality is for you to then push or place your attention and your awareness, your conscious awareness on that thing. And then you pull yourself closer and closer to it. So the version of me that wants to be a makeup artist is existing still.
Somewhere, right now.
Yeah, that's how I believe it. The version of me that wants to write books is already doing that.
She
already exists because I've projected that thought. That thought form becomes sort of like an entity. And this is why you say something like, it's calling me back. What is the it that is having the ability to call you?
Yeah.
It has become its own breathing, living entity. And so I did get into a place where I had now started this online business and I was successful with it. I finally made the money.
Right.
I finally put food in my fridge without begging. I finally began to understand that money was not necessarily just paper. It was value, businesses exchange of value for money, and exchange of services of value and things like that. And now that I made money, I could pay for my music. I could pay for my studio sessions. I could build a studio. I could go back to the music. But you see, now I had created this entity and I'd created that entity. And it became like a new tug of war. Like, who do you focus on? What do you focus on? And slowly but surely, after going through the pain and the disappointment and the drama in the mind, I got to a point in my life where my spirit, I listened to my intuition a lot. My intuition said to me, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as when you are doing what you're doing, you're doing it ever so joyfully, ever so playfully, that you lived a wonderful life experience in that doing. So whatever you find your hand to do it, do joyfully. If you're cooking, if you're cleaning, you're doing the dishes, you're sweeping, you're gardening. It does not matter what you do at all. What matters is the energy, the intention.
The heart that you put in. So
behind
you just
your
reminded
doing.
Me of a quote by was it Martin Luther King Jr.?
What did he say?
And says something about if a man is called to be a street sweeper,
I know that one.
Sweep the streets like Michelangelo painted. He should sweep the
That's a really
streets
powerful quote.
like whoever, and so that one day when God comes down, he's going to look and everybody, there's going to be, I can't remember the exact statement, but it ends by saying that, that everybody would know that there was once a street sweeper who did his job well because, of the energy that you put into it.
Yeah.
But looking at your situation now, honestly, not everybody can go that route or go that path. But I believe that everybody can be inspired by your story. Now, we're talking about somebody who is already killing the rap game. Somebody who has destroyed the industry. I mean, you left music, you left rap, and You went to do other things. Until now, your throne is still there, empty, waiting for you to climb it back.
Throne?
The throne of being Nigeria's biggest top rapper. You know, I mean, like, come on. Now, you're doing rap, you're doing music.
I appreciate it.
Right? And you're already successful.
Is that how you actually see me?
I mean, that's how I've always said. I mean, first time I listened to Eva, I think, what song was that? I think it was from the Garbage in Garbage Out album.
Oh, that's my favorite, one of my favorite albums.
Oh yeah, I listened to that album back to back, and we knew you as Eve, like we knew Eva Alordiah. Come on, like we saw you, what you were doing, you know, in a scenario where Nigeria music was already moving in Nigeria. We had the likes of all the OGs, the Whiskies, the Cynthia Morgans, even before the Burna Boys and all, you know, you were already there doing music, you know, that kind of thing, and you were already doing great. And then suddenly Eva disappears, you know? How were you able to detach from that person, that reality, that person, that rapper Eva? And how were you able to separate from that person and then identify with the new thing you were going to do? Because for a lot of people, I mean, you've already created an identity for yourself, right? A lot of people tend to get lost in it, right? And that is something that a lot of creatives tend to be in. Like, I start to do something and I realize I'm good at it. At some point, I maybe get tired of it, or maybe my spirit is calling me to do something else. But because I've so much identified with that image of myself, I'm not able to separate from it, right? Yeah. And then you were able to separate from that music that seemed like you were already there, right? And then you basically jumped into something else entirely, and, you know, facing all the financial whatever, and you're able to come out of it. What was that like? Even making that decision at that point in time, what was it like? I mean, it must have been very difficult.
It was really very difficult. It took a lot of time. It took several years to really pull off of identifying with the identity or with the persona that was my music persona. And I think, like, because I went through like a really deep depression that almost took me out of here, because I was really lost. I was, like, my dream for a long time was I wanted to be like Eminem. I wanted to perform like Michael Jackson. I wanted to be on the stage and I wanted to do great. But I just kept on feeling like there was pushback. Like, as much as people looked at me like Eva, I wasn't living up to my best potential. I did not feel supported in my potential. I did not feel like I was surrounded by people who cared about growth and development. And even the growth, I wasn't feeling it in myself. So I felt like I was living a fake life. I was happy to sacrifice my career for my happiness in that time, because I couldn't keep on living a lie. I wasn't happy being up there all over the place, yet I was just still a starving artist and struggling to do things. And I was an independent artist. Like, the spotlight, the thing, I can't really explain it, but it just did not feel real anymore. And I do believe that was also a real period of my spiritual awakening. And it was necessary for me to take that break away, because I was going through like a real deep, dark night of the soul that I've come to understand it now as the dark night of the soul. And so I did not necessarily just wake up and break the identity. That is not something that just happens.
Obviously.
It took years. I'm talking like 6 years of being in solitude, of being away from everybody. I'm not attending any events. I'm not doing anything like that. Yeah. I'm reading, I'm studying, I'm staying up late nights. I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm developing my skills. I'm learning new skills. I'm learning digital marketing. I'm like listening to like great speakers from all over the world. I'm digging deep. I'm going into the internet archives. I'm looking for books. I'm denying anything that I knew before. I'm questioning everything from God to religion to spirituality to creative arts to everything. Yeah. And then to myself, like, who the fuck are you? Like, really? Who are you? When you remove all of this, does anybody care? Yeah. Do you care when you remove all of this? Do you still like yourself when you remove all of this? And well, to be honest, I was like, take it off like a cloth. I took it off and I decided I was not going to be that person. Yeah. And I wanted to see what life was like. And life revealed herself to me when I decided to be nobody. And you see, the freedom of being nobody is you can be anything.
Exactly. You know, a lot of people...
I allowed myself to be anything from there.
That's beautiful. Like, I feel, a lot of people also don't understand that idea. People, the human body tends to be, the human body, mind, soul, our spirit, and our consciousness tends to be comfortable, when it's in the known, and when it jumps into the unknown, there's this, once there's a change, once you're trying to change something about yourself or whatever, your body kind of like resists and fights back, that kind of thing. So I was going to ask that, based on this, there are a lot of people who are probably going through. So I'm going to ask what your advice to them would be, but I don't want to ask that question that way. I would say rather that I would like to talk about some of the concepts or some of the ideas that have led you to where you are. Creativity is such an interesting thing, right? Mm-hmm. And however, I've decided to delve into some aspects of creativity and spirituality, where I'm trying to just connect to some energies, some vibrations, some frequencies. And a lot of people don't know that to be full creative, you have to understand some of these things. You have to be vibrating on a particular frequency or some particular frequencies. Now, a lot of people don't understand these concepts. A lot of people around, especially from our side of the world, don't even understand some of these concepts of spirituality and these are things that you've also applied in your own self. So I'd like to first of all start by asking you to let's talk about what's your view generally on the creative energy. What's your view on what the creative energy is, and from a spiritual standpoint?
Okay, here's what I would say about that. And I'll take this from my own perspective.
Yeah.
I do believe that there is just one energy. There is one energy. And it is transformed into many forms of itself. And so we are many aspects. All of this is many aspects of the same creative force. And every single individual person, as unique as their fingerprints, has a unique life print of how their life is going to unfold, how their story is going to pan out. And I do believe that we are all encoded with the ability to wake up to the truth of who we are. So like it's encoded in your design that at some point you are going to begin to question yourself beyond this physical bodysuit. At least that's how it happened for me. One day I woke up and I said, what the fuck is this shit?
Like, who am I?
Like, who the fuck am I?
What's going on in my body? Like, who is this person?
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Who is the person asking this question that I'm asking myself right now, And that was really how my spiritual awakening began. It was like, who am I when I'm not on TV? And I think if you listen to some of my music, it's probably in there as well. Who am I when I'm not on the stage? Who am I when I'm not in front of a crowd? Who am I when people are not hailing me? Who am I when I get back home and I'm by myself? Who is this person? I think it takes a different level of soul searching where you are absolutely responsible for the results that you are seeking, meaning that you are not waiting for somebody to tell you whether it is a yay or a nay. You are fully aware of yourself as the consciousness that is conscious, that is creating, that is alive. And you are aware that you are aware that you are aware. It's a really like letting go of the bodysuit, letting go of the mask, letting go of the ego, of the persona that you have created to the point where you literally become nothing and you just observe. And for the creative spirit, I think that is a lifelong journey. I think it actually begins the moment you pick up a pencil at 5 years old and you begin to do something that everybody else in your class is not doing. There's something calling you and you're listening to it. And so your energy, your spirit or your soul has chosen to answer the call. Why did you choose to answer that particular call? And I think that this is a very individual thing. So for me, I understood, or I've come to understand, that it's the same energy that creates life, that creates the walls, that creates the plants, that is animated through me, what you might call God. And this is the same energy that is prompting me to want to do things in the right way. Of course, we are not alone. There are different entities. There are different energies. And so as a creative spirit, being a creative spirit, you are sort of like a channeler. This is what I understand. You're sort of like a channeler. So when you're writing a poem, you are channeling. When you're writing a book, you are channeling. When you are even speaking on a podcast. I connect
to that. I just had goosebumps right now. I totally connect to that.
Even right now, as we are talking, we are channeling.
Exactly.
But if you are right in your body, if you're right in your spirit, and you choose the way of love, then you can always trust in yourself to channel the right thing.
How do you go about that? How do you do that? How do you, I would say, center yourself, or how do you make sure you're aligned? How do you align yourself?
For me personally, I know that I am not aligned when I feel like shit.
Okay, I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I know that I am not aligned when I begin to hate my life and I'm complaining a lot and I'm not, in a space of gratitude. And the easiest way to align yourself is to get back in touch with your body. So alignment, that for me though, the easiest way is to get back in touch with your body. So easiest way would be like jogging, running, working out, right? Activating your flesh or activating your word, because words are spells and everything that you say, you're casting a spell.
Right.
So like when I'm in a state of misalignment and I'm feeling shit and I'm feeling sad.
She's dropping some gems. She's dropping some gems. Guys, can you hear that?
When I'm feeling shit or I'm feeling sad, it's even easier to spell or to cast a spell of positivity across your room, to cast a spell of life in your immediate energetic field.
Right.
It's easier to cast a spell of life than to go start running. So imagine that you're feeling shit and you cast a spell like, I am so thankful. I am so alive today. I am so thankful for this time. I give thanks for my body for helping me. I give thanks that I feel strong. Just casting that spell alone and speaking it, even if you did not believe it at first, is enough to activate the energy within you. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to do shit today. So I really believe in the power of the word. And to be honest, as a creative spirit, you were born to create. And I do believe that we're all creative spirits. We are.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. We're all.
I don't think somebody's or some set of people are specifically said, okay, you are supposed to be a creative. I believe everybody's a creative.
Yes.
I just believe that maybe a couple of people are a little bit more connected than some others. But ultimately, I just believe that everybody's in their journey.
I think we're fucked from the jump. Because we're set up in this life and, there's a shitty education system that has been running since
there's
time. There's a programming. And our education system right now is really fucked. It's been fucked for so long, but nobody wants to talk about it. Because we literally program children at a very young, malleable age to learn by memorizing. You don't learn by memorizing, you learn by creating.
Right.
And so we stifle intentionally, this is the program, we're stifling the beautiful creativity and the beautiful creative energy, this what we're talking about. Yeah. We're stifling that by telling the child that this is how this is. That is how that is.
And not allowing the child to...
And not allowing the child to play.
Flow and just play and just have fun.
Just play. You are 4 years old. What the fuck are you doing in school?
Exactly.
You are 4.
You should just be
in the
expressing
yard.
yourself, be in the yard, jump around.
If you want to pack stones and build a house with stones, do that. But I told my mom this several times. I'm not going to send my kids to school, especially before they are 7.
And you know what I think also? I think that we never really, as creatives, we never really stop playing, That's what it is.
We never really stop playing because a lot of us who are creatives today, who are expressing our creative spirits because we did not follow the way, because we rebelled. Many of us are rebels. We rebelled in the past. We rebelled in school. We rebelled against our parents. They told us to drop the pencil. We picked it up again. They told us to drop the video game. We picked it up again. Those of us.
Funny enough, sorry to cut you, but funny enough, that's almost like the story for a lot of music artists, even in Nigeria as we speak. They are doing music and their parents are totally against it.
Yes.
Even comedians too.
I have so many
doing comedy, their parents are totally against it. I remember one of them, I think, was it Alibaba, who said he said he had a girlfriend and her parents asked that, what does your boyfriend do? And it's like, he's a comedian. And they're like, Alawada. like Alawada means like just a joker. Like, really? That's what he does? And at that point, then they felt like you had to have maybe like a white collar job, whatever. And forgetting that we as Africans, we as Nigerians, we as Yoruba, Igbo people, like we at the core of our African, culture and everything was creativity in itself. We've been bending iron, we've been carving wood, we've been doing all sorts. And, even when a lot of our art was stolen and taken out, these are some of the things that even inspired even artists on the other side, people like Pablo Picasso, who would tell you that art is theft. Basically, is stealing. You steal, but you steal, creatively. So I would say, I totally agree with you on that point. But now to digress a bit, I just want to jump into something else quickly. Do you believe in death?
How did we get there?
I just feel like, it's a journey, right? So this creative journey, it's ultimately, I feel like every creative would end when you're exploring those ideas, you end up to this point where you're trying to understand what the limit is. I feel like the man starts from a stage of survival, trying not to die. When you're a baby, you're breathing hard, trying to be alive. And we're all trying to be alive and trying to live forever because we have this concept of death or finality of something or something that has to end, or we feel like time is limited, so to speak. That is, at some point time will stop and that's it. Some people believe death is the end of time, or some people could say death is just not being in your physical body, or some people feel like once you die, that's it, it's done. Where do you think your creativity would take you to, even within this realm? And if you believe there's another realm, do you believe that there's a reason why you're doing this? Do you believe that maybe when you die, you continue the journey somewhere else, or maybe you come back? I just want to understand, where do you have some form of finality in your mind? And, that's why I'm asking you, do you actually believe in death?
Okay, so going back to your previous question, when I was talking about we are fucked from the jump. We are fucked from the jump. So from the very beginning, there's a lot of concepts and programs that are impacted into us through religion, through education system. And what I was saying about education is so true. Like if you understand how education came into being in our society, it's literally the people who have the machines creating workers for their machines.
Yeah.
And so the reason that you're going to school is just to come back and get a job and work for the machines.
Exactly.
And now we're getting into an age where machines are going to be created to work the machines.
Right.
And so what are you going to do?
Yeah. People are not like, okay.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that we have believed from the jump needs to be discarded, and every individual person needs to go and figure themselves out. On my journey of figuring myself out, meaning that I'm unlearning everything, I'm saying, don't tell me shit. Hold up, don't tell me shit.
I totally agree with that. Definitely.
I'm like, don't tell me anything. I know all things, and I can call all things through my own source. I can breathe life into whatever knowledge I am seeking. I can ask myself, and myself will give me the truth. And you shall know the truth, and it shall set you free. For yourself. You shall know it for yourself. You will not know it and go and start telling people that this is the truth. No,
because
this is your truth.
It's your truth.
So this is my truth about death.
Okay.
Death. Nothing dies. I don't believe that there is any such thing as death. There is cessation from being animated in a particular form. For example, if I bring this water and I put the water in the freezer, it becomes ice.
Right.
Did the water die, or did it become ice? It became ice. If I bring the ice out, it becomes water again. Did it die, or did it become ice? It became ice.
If I heat it up,
if I heat it up, it vaporizes. Did it die? Nah. It vapored away.
Right.
So your spirit, your energy was not created to die. It lives on and on and on till infinity. This is what I believe. And so death is you, the person, deciding that I am going to cease from being animated. I'm going to cease from this place. And then you come back to where you came from, wherever you came from. Because we're not from here. You are not of this world.
Oh, yeah. I used to tell people, we used to have this discussion where, I tell you that I'm actually from Mercury. That somehow my spirit, I just feel like I didn't manifest in this earth the first time. I feel like the first time I manifested in Mercury for some reason. I know it might sound weird for some people listening to that right now, but I also feel like there's some things that there's some knowing you just know in your DNA, in your blood. I mean, yeah, it's what I believe, but
I mean, there's so many places that we could explore in the vastness of this universe.
Right.
This is not the only place.
Definitely.
The unfortunate situation for us humans is like, we love the concept of possession. We want to own and control.
Yeah.
There is something in our flesh that desires control, that desires possession. This is why like so many relationships are dwindling into thin air and there is no substance in relationships because people are trying to possess each other. You must love me. You love me. I love you. I'm mine. That possession stifles the love. It kills the love, you know, and so we want to possess everything in life. We want to possess the riches and all of these things. And we're thinking about how to own without thinking about our soul and thinking about our journey. If you think about your journey, you wouldn't need a lot of all these things.
Exactly.
You really wouldn't.
Exactly.
And we possess so much that we want to possess this flesh of bones. Like, do you know who you are beyond this body that you want to hold on so tightly to this body? It's a really tight conversation because like not a lot of people are ready.
Yeah, I mean, this discussion,
this is how I think about it, you know. This is how I think about it. The minute you decide that you don't own any of this, you came here to have fun. It's fun. You're in a game and you're supposed to have fun and create the best experience for yourself. Create the best game for yourself. If you're in the flow and creating the best game at any point, when you're playing a game, you're not afraid to die. If you die, you come back again, you play again.
Yeah.
Or you decide, you know what,
I mean,
I don't like this game anyways. I'm going to go play another game somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, I totally vibe with that. I totally vibe with that on so many levels. And I feel like some of these things we're talking about, we're even still scratching the surface. I would really love to have you again, you know, to, you know, dig deep into some of these concepts. But one of the reasons why I've tried to specifically touch some of these topics is because I you know, if you've really hit the nail on the head for me and for a lot of creatives out there, you know, from what you're saying, I'm picking a couple of things. For example, number one is that, you know, when we go through this journey of our creative energy, we're confused, we're expressing ourselves.
Yeah.
The confusion comes as a result of us trying to define some form of achievement or some form of goal rather than us trying to have fun in the process. When we understand that death is not a thing. Life is just about love, expression, and fully expressing your own spirit and your own creative journey. Then you're able to actually become even more creative. You're able to do a lot more creative stuff. So, and I can see that, you know, like and that's why I asked the question. I can see you like confidently expressing yourself without having to worry about whether it's going to turn out in a specific way, or it has to be this way, or it has to be that way. It's just you letting it out and letting that energy out. So for a lot of creatives out there, what would be your advice just on a general point of view? I don't want to tell you how to advise, but what would you say would be something that they should pick from here? I'm sure they've picked a lot of things, trust me, but what would be your own, we would say, let me ask the question this way. What's your greatest lesson so far?
I don't know.
Oh, I like, actually, do you know what? I actually like that answer.
Why?
No, you know, I mean, because, you know, when you don't know, and then you know that you don't know, is when wisdom starts from. For if you feel like you know, and I feel like if you feel like you know, then I feel like you're dumb or you're not smart.
I honestly don't know.
That's a good answer.
But I can tell you, thank you. I can tell you what changed everything for me. What changed everything for me was choosing consciously to be my own greatest teacher. I stopped turning outwards. I mean, I read like a crazy person. I read like I have a paper tomorrow.
Yeah, she does.
You know, I study a lot. I have more books than I have clothes.
Yeah.
For real. Yeah. I read a lot and I study and I go back into time. And this is the information age. There's no reason why you cannot find the answer to anything that you're looking for, especially if you go within for the answers. And so I think one of the best things that changed my life was choosing to be my greatest teacher, meaning every information that comes to my conscious awareness, I take it in and I send it back to my spirit. And I ask spirit, Do you agree? What do you think of this? And I'm able to tap in through meditation into information that is out of this world, literally, that did not come from here or was here before, existed before, and was hidden away. And I found myself in several situations where I know something and then somebody tells me, oh, this is this. I'm like, I knew that. For example, yoga. I never knew that yoga was yoga, but I was already doing it by myself. I just knew that my body wanted to twist and turn and do all of those moves. I just knew that if I did this, then I'll connect better. If mudras, for example, right? Mudras, I was doing mudras myself without knowing what it was. I just knew that if I did my fingers like this or if I did this, there was energy and I could vibrate.
I could connect,
My third eye, the pineal gland. I did not know that it was called a pineal gland, but I knew in meditation that if I was sending my energy back and forth up and down the ladder, it goes up and it hits a certain point where my brain begins to vibrate. And guess what? I checked Google. It's the pineal gland.
Exactly.
So you already know everything. You know what you know that you don't know that you don't know.
Right.
And so I really trust myself. I trust myself to get myself the answers.
Yeah. I always have the way I see things, like as usual, a lot of people, tends to be unpopular opinion. So I totally agree with you in that sense. And I'd just like to add to that, like in the sense that, you being your own teacher and with Christianity, for example, there's a part in the Bible that says, walk out your salvation with fear and trembling. When I first heard that statement, first thing that came to my mind, or rather, I would say, I first of all heard it the way the pastor wanted me to understand it. But then later, I then started to understand it in my own way, which was, you are actually responsible for your own salvation. You are your own teacher. You're responsible for your knowledge, for your consumption, everything you put on your body, your cream you use, the music you listen to, the food you consume. You are responsible. You are your own teacher. You're the one that knows that I need to twist and turn, connect and do all of that. So I totally fuck with that. I totally agree with that. So yeah, thanks for that.
I'm a little worried about the question you're about to ask me now. I feel like you're going to throw me somewhere. So let's go. What's the question?
No stress. No stress. I'm not going to.
Because you like to do that. You like to go really deep, and I appreciate that about you. I think that you are such a liver of life.
I mean, it's worth it if you're not diving deep, is it?
I gotta
it's not
dive
necessarily.
deep.
Yeah, I mean, go the whole 9 yards, Yeah. So, and speaking of that, and speaking of death, generally, and like you said, it's like a cessation. It's like a conversion or like a transition
or a transformation
into something. Death is something that is a major factor, behind how a lot of people live their lives today. The fear of death, I would say, right? And fear in itself is also an energy.
It's a program.
It's a program, right? And so, to overcome death in itself, in some ways, even to overcome fear.
I don't think you necessarily overcome death. Death is already promised. Death is promised. It's to understand that it is just another aspect of life. Death is life. To die is to have life.
Okay. I like that. I love that.
So I think, first of all, go on. I don't think your question has landed first.
Oh no, it hasn't. But I could feel you already, giving me the energy. So I was like, you know what? I'll wait and I'll hear what you have to say. But my real question is, though, how have you dealt with, or how do you deal with fear? Now, fear always comes in different forms. It's fear. A lot of people's lives are ruled by fear. I won't say fear of death sometimes, fear of different random things, So how do you deal, or how have you dealt with fear? Obviously, like even on times where you said...
You mean the fear of death?
No, not necessarily the fear of death, but fear generally. Like you've had situations where you've had to totally stop all you're doing and enter a new life. That wouldn't come without some form of fear, like, saying, am I doing the right, whatever? Am I doing the right thing? Is this, fear just comes in so many different forms. How have you dealt with fear in your own journey?
I honestly think of all of these things as signals because we're energy beings, right?
Right.
So everything that happens is a signal. If you go out right now and you meet your friend randomly, that's a signal. If you get a phone call from somebody randomly, that's a signal. Everything is a signal, right? And so fear itself, for me in my life, the way I've come to understand it, I've really believed that fear is a signal that you're about to do the right thing. Fear is a signal that either you're about to do the right thing or you should check what you're doing. It's a signal that calls you.
So basically, we shouldn't take fear with...
Don't take it literally.
Don't take it literally. You should take it with joy. Take it as a gift.
And take it as a signal to check in.
Right. To check into something, depending on the situation, because fear will arise in many different situations. If I'm standing like at the railing of a very, very top story building, I'm going to have fear. That signal is probably a check for me to step back a little. Say if I take one more step forward,
it's just a signal. And
that's going to be the end.
It's in your biology, so you cannot escape it.
Okay, I love that.
I can't escape fear.
I love that.
Always in our biology.
Right.
It's
So we're basically always just maneuvering through life, fear, using fear as a signal and as a gift.
For me, though, that's how I see it.
Right.
However, there is also fear that is programmed as control.
Right.
For the masses, right? So there is fear that is programmed and is televised and is preached to you, but it is really a form of control.
Right.
That's why, again, you have to become your greatest teacher. You have to become so independent of everybody else's opinion that you're able to link in with your highest expression or with your God or with, source energy, with yourself. Damn it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I would love to keep going. I mean, I feel like if we continue, we would talk for like 10 hours nonstop.
Oh, we will talk.
Like we would just be talking and vibing.
We'll talk.
But just like death, water, and time, everything has to come to an end. And I think I'll have to like just pause. Not even end, but I would say pause this discussion here because I would love us. We still have, I would still love us to have more of this discussion, and I hope you would, grace our invitation again to come on our podcast. What are your final thoughts, though, in terms of just to inspire people out there? I would say creatives, but at the same time, I would just say people because I believe everybody's creative. So, what are your final thoughts in terms of, based off of the things we've spoken about today, that you would say could inspire people, at least listening to this, and, help them maybe take a step towards finding themselves or actually dealing with themselves just like you've dealt with yours?
I think I would say trust yourself and the thing that is calling you on towards. Because if something is calling you on towards, it means that you have life. It means that you are alive. To be alive is the gift. To be alive in the present moment is the gift. If you're alive, you have everything. You have everything. And I think that we have been so programmed, so brainwashed. And I've said program so many times.
I mean, because it's a fact. I mean, it's a
how it's called television programming?
Yeah, it's
television program.
It is.
Now it's full blown all through the media. Everywhere we are going, there are programs.
Yeah.
And you don't know where these programs are coming from.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be such a sense of urgency to life, to what is calling you forward. If something is calling you forward, it is such a beautiful gift because it means that you are fully in this life. You are in this life. Like, this is a gift. I tell my friends all the time, I love life. I no longer, life has so surprised me that everything that happens, whether good or bad, is a gift. Everything that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you something that happened recently. Let me tell you something that happened recently.
Okay.
Just literally like 2 days ago. Okay. So I just got back to Nigeria. I just got back to Lagos. I haven't been in Lagos in so long. And so I came back to Lagos like, okay, you know what? I'm going to pretend that I'm a JJC in this town, even after living in Lagos for over 20 years. I'm going to pretend.
Sorry to cut you. JJC means Jolly Just by the way.
Just land. I'm going to pretend, say I'll be person will just land. I'm not savvy anything. So let me go book myself into an Airbnb and explore Lagos like I've never explored Lagos before. Right. So I booked into the first Airbnb. I enjoyed it for like 4 days. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of you. I'm going to book another one. So I booked another one.
Right.
Now, I booked the next Airbnb and I drove to that Airbnb at about 10 p.m. only to check the details and realize for the second time that there wasn't actually an address. It was just like the name of the area, for example, just say like Ikate Lekki or something. And I'm like, why didn't I notice this before? Okay, let me call this person. I'm in Lagos driving 10:30, 11 p.m. driving. calling this person and the number is turned off. Why are you applying a listing on Airbnb?
Wow.
You don't add an address, the number is turned off, and you've collected my money. You know, like, I was so pissed. So I'm driving through the whole place and I'm looking for this. This is the middle of the night. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to drive back into Lekki Phase 1 and sit in my car and start looking for like a shortlet or something. Because I did not want to stay in a hotel. I don't like hotels. So I begin the long journey of Googling and scrolling and trying to find something. And I couldn't find anything. So I go back to Airbnb, back to my wish list. And there was somebody who I had previously pre-booked with. Long story short, she says to me, well, we can come open the door for you at 6 a.m. Meaning the initial Airbnb did not answer me. I can't get her. And so this lady says, I can come in at 6 a.m. I said, okay, great. I'm going to be in my car. At this time, it's 2 a.m. in the morning because I had been scrolling and scrolling.
Crazy.
Honey, I slept in the car.
Wow.
I slept in the car.
Just
in the middle of, just
road.
parked in Lekki, just slept in my car.
Wow.
With mosquitoes. Bzz, bzz, bzz.
That's crazy.
Oh no, that was crazy. But in my mind, it's like, okay, it's 2 to 6. 6 o'clock, she said I should come. So as soon as it was like 5:30, I began to drive to the place. And let me tell you, baby, when I walked into this Airbnb, when I walked into the place, it looked like exactly what it was that I wanted. Like, it looked like the kind of apartment that I always wanted. It looked like the kind of place that I wanted to stay. It was so zen. It was so me. And even though I wasn't sure immediately if I would stay, I could feel like a sort of calling that we brought you home. And so it worked out for me.
Yeah. I mean, you could have settled into the one that.
And I could have enjoyed it as well.
I'm just saying it probably, or it could have just been a situation that you wouldn't even enjoy. And then that's why you couldn't even contact them in the first place.
And that potential reality still exists.
Right.
I just did not tap into that. Instead, I was led into a better reality, even though I was disappointed. So there's always a blessing in disappointment.
Yeah.
Everything is a gift, whether it's good or bad.
Everything
It's your human mind that decides whether it's good or bad.
Right.
And so for me, I've learned to look at life and to understand what is the lesson here. Every time my question is, what is the lesson here? If I fucked up on a project, if I messed up, or if I hurt somebody, what is the lesson here?
Exactly.
What is my soul?
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, learning in this journey.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful, actually. And for me, I feel like that's the highlight of this discussion, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like, what is everything is a ploy to lead you to the perfect self that you're looking for. So nothing is good, nothing is bad. Everything is just is. And it's the lens and the perspective that you view it through that determines what it is. I used to listen to somebody called Bashar, where he said,
we love Bashar.
He said that, if you look at a situation positively, then you get a positive outcome from the situation. And then if you look at it negatively, obviously you get a negative outcome from the situation. So at the end of the day, it's your perspective, it's how you look at it, it's how you view it. So you're a creative out there, you're trying to do something, you're trying to achieve something, you're trying to express yourself. It's how you perceive it. And like they say, perception is key. It's how you perceive it that it's manifests for you. It responds to you. And like they say, the universe responds to you, not reacts. It doesn't react, rather, it responds to your energy, to your perspective. And thank you so much for that. I really loved this discussion. I really loved this. I
enjoyed this for the first time. And I don't do many interviews. I haven't done one in so
guys, you heard it here. You heard it here first. We're special. We're really, really special. So thank you so much, Eva.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Nigeria's top female rapper. She's bringing out a lot of new music.
He blesses me with so much love.
I mean, she's who she is. Like, come on. She's not good. She's not bad.
I told you I dropped my music for a little bit. Yeah. Like, I literally just discarded it. Yeah. And when it was time to come back, I came back, I picked it up, and I sweetened that relationship with my music. And
I'm loving it. I've been listening to some of the things you've been doing, and I'm like, wow, okay.
I think that
it's almost like she didn't leave.
Yeah, I think we overthink everything, and we should just trust life. Just trust life, Just trust life.
I totally agree.
You already had a plan. Just trust life. It's so important.
Thank you so much. So thank you guys. Thank you, Eva. And thank you
you.
guys for stumbling on
Thank
this
you
video.
guys for watching.
If you actually stumbled on this video, if you've watched this video to this point, you can understand that it's also a ploy. It's not good. It's not bad. You're here for a reason. You've stumbled right here for a reason. There's no coincidence. I don't believe that coincidence exists. I believe everything is a plan. And the fact that you're here listening and watching this, there's something definitely in there for you. Pick it up and learn from it. And I've picked up a lot of things today that every single time I talk to Eva, I always pick something new. And I've picked a lot of new things today. So I'm sure you can also pick a lot of things. You are creative. You are God. You are your own expression. So have fun. I don't even know how to end it, but yeah. So let's have fun and do your thing. Don't forget to, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like whatever you think about this video. Please drop in the comments below. And Eva actually has a YouTube channel. In fact, a couple of YouTube channels where she calls herself the Energy Giver. And trust me, you go to her channel, sad, you come back like, yes, that kind of thing. But anyways, guys, subscribe to my channel, and all her links are in the description below, and you can connect to Eva, listen to her music. I'm going to drop everything in the description: Spotify, Apple Music, you name it, like YouTube links, everything. Just jump in there and connect, and trust me, you would not regret it. My name is Ibukun Williams, the top creative you'll ever meet, even though, I don't like to compare, but I'm just joking. But anyways, guys, have fun. See you in the next one. Goodbye. Ciao.